Did you know that cold water you drink every day is freezing your digestion and creating a field of bad bacteria in your intestine? And that the diet sweetener you use to be healthy is killing your good bacteria? There are 9 habits you do every day that seem totally normal, but are stopping your gut from healing and destroying your health without you even realizing it. Get ready, because what you will discover now will completely change the way you take care of your body. The connection between what you do daily and the state of your gut is much deeper than anyone realizes. When we talk about gut health, we're not just talking about going to the bathroom regularly or not having a tummy ache. We're talking about the organ that controls 70% of your immune system, that produces 90% of your body's serotonin, that decides whether you're going to be energetic or tired, whether you're going to have mental clarity or brain fog, whether you're going to have beautiful skin or full of problems. Your gut is literally your second brain, with over 100 million neurons that constantly communicate with your head. This communication can save your life or destroy it depending on the state of your gut. The first big mistake people make is not understanding the importance of chewing. It sounds silly, but chewing is the first step of digestion and perhaps the most important of all. Your saliva contains powerful enzymes that begin to break down carbohydrates while still in your mouth. When you chew well, you are facilitating all the digestive work that follows. Every poorly chewed piece of food you swallow is a time bomb for your intestines. It gets there too big, too hard, too difficult to process. Your stomach needs to produce a lot more acid. Your pancreas needs to release a lot more enzymes. Your intestine needs to work double time. Over time, all of these organs become exhausted. It's like making an employee work 3 shifts in a row every day. One day, it will collapse. And when your digestive system collapses, you develop food intolerances, irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's disease, colitis, and a host of other conditions that could have been avoided by simply chewing right. There's a detail that few people know about eating quickly. The faster you eat, the more you eat. It takes your brain about 20 minutes to receive the satiety signal from your stomach. If you devour a meal in 5 minutes, you'll eat much more than you need before your brain realizes you're full. The result is an overloaded intestine trying to process an absurd amount of food at once. This causes fermentation, gas, bloating, and a huge production of toxins that are absorbed into the bloodstream. These toxins travel throughout the body, causing inflammation in distant places like the joints, skin, and brain. That arthritis that appeared out of nowhere, that psoriasis that doesn't get better with anything, that mental fog that makes you forget things, it could all be a consequence of eating too quickly and overloading your intestines. The issue of temperature of liquids during meals is something that Eastern medicine has always known about, but the West has completely ignored. In traditional Chinese medicine, drinking cold liquids during meals is considered one of the worst habits for digestion. And they were absolutely right. The ideal temperature for digestive enzymes to work is around 37 degrees Celsius, body temperature. When you introduce cold liquids, you are drastically lowering that temperature. The enzymes simply stop working. It's like trying to cook with the heat turned down to low. The food doesn't cook properly, it becomes a bit raw. It starts to spoil. The same happens in your stomach. The food is not digested properly. It sits there much longer than it should. It begins to ferment and putrefy. This creates gases that cause reflux, heartburn, belching, and that bad taste in the mouth. Furthermore, this poorly digested food passes into the small intestine full of large particles that irritate the intestinal wall, causing microinflammations that over time turn into chronic inflammation. The sweetener industry is one of the biggest frauds in the history of nutrition. They sell these products as healthy alternatives to sugar, but the truth is that they are even worse. Sweeteners such as aspartame, sucralose, saccharin, and others are not recognized by the body as food. These are foreign chemicals that your liver needs to process as toxins. Meanwhile, in the intestine, these substances are causing a massacre. Recent research shows that artificial sweeteners drastically alter the composition of the intestinal microbiota, reducing the diversity of bacterial species and favoring the growth of bacteria associated with obesity and diabetes. It's exact lies the opposite of what people want when they choose sweeteners. They want to lose weight and be healthier, but they are actually gaining weight and getting sicker. Studies show that people who regularly consume artificial sweeteners have a higher risk of weight gain, metabolic syndrome, type 2 diabetes, and even cancer. That zero-sugar soda you think is helping you lose weight is actually reprogramming your gut bacteria to store more fat and increase inflammation. Sleep is so important for the intestine that there is even a scientific term for it, the sleep-gut axis. During deep sleep, your gut undergoes essential repair processes. The intestinal lining cells regenerate, the intestinal barrier is strengthened, the bacteria reorganize and rebalance. All of this happens mainly at night. When you don't get enough sleep or have poor quality sleep, these processes are disrupted. It's like trying to renovate a house while people are still there making a mess. It doesn't work. Sleep deprivation also drastically alters the composition of the intestinal microbiota. Studies show that a single night of poor sleep can reduce bacterial diversity in the intestine. Imagine the damage from years of poor sleep. Additionally, lack of sleep increases levels of cortisol, the stress hormone, which is extremely toxic to the intestinal lining. Cortisol literally eats away at the protective layer of the intestine, opening spaces between cells that allow toxins, bacteria, and undigested food particles to pass into the bloodstream. This is what we call leaky gut, and it is the root of practically all autoimmune diseases. Antibiotics save lives when used appropriately, but they have become one of the biggest destroyers of modern gut health. The problem is not the antibiotic itself, but excessive and unnecessary use. Every time you take an antibiotic, you are dropping a bomb on your gut ecosystem. Trillions of bacteria die, not just the bad ones that are causing the infection, but also the good ones that are protecting you. After the bomb goes off, what grows back isn't necessarily a healthy garden. It is often the weeds that grow first and fastest. Opportunistic bacteria such as Candida, Clostridium, and other pathogens take advantage of the void left by good bacteria and multiply uncontrollably. The result is an unbalanced intestine, dominated by microorganisms that produce toxins, cause inflammation, and prevent adequate absorption of nutrients. Research shows that frequent antibiotic use is associated with a much higher risk of obesity, diabetes, asthma, allergies, autoimmune diseases, and even psychiatric problems like anxiety and depression, all because the antibiotic destroyed the delicate balance of the intestinal microbiota. Chronic stress is probably the most underrated factor in gut health. When you're stressed, your body goes into fight or flight mode. This means that all functions not essential for immediate survival are shut down or reduced, and digestion is one of them. After all, when you're running from a lion, it's not the time to digest food. The problem is that in the modern world, we are not running from lions, but our body reacts to the stress of traffic, work, bills, and relationships as if they were life or death threats. The result is that we live in fight or flight mode virtually all the time. This means that digestion is always impaired. Blood flow to the intestine decreases, the production of digestive enzymes drops, bowel movement becomes slow or erratic, and the protective mucus layer becomes thinner. All of this leaves the intestine vulnerable to damage. Furthermore, stress directly increases intestinal permeability. Studies show that even short periods of intense stress can open holes in the intestinal lining, allowing toxins to pass into the blood. Chronic stress keeps these holes open permanently, creating a condition of systemic inflammation that underlies virtually all modern chronic diseases. Skipping breakfast or making poor choices in the morning is like starting the day off on the wrong foot for your gut. After hours of fasting overnight, your gut is ready to receive nutrients and start the day. When you don't provide these nutrients or only provide sugar and refined carbohydrates, you're sending mixed signals to your entire digestive system. Prolonged fasting may seem good to some, but for many people, especially those with existing gut issues, skipping breakfast increases stress on the body and further harms digestion throughout the day. When you finally eat, you are so hungry that you eat too much too quickly, overeating watering the intestine. On the other hand, eating white bread, sugary cereal or other junk food for breakfast creates a blood sugar spike, followed by a sudden drop that leaves you tired, irritable and hungry again in no time. This glycemic roller coaster cycle is extremely inflammatory for the gut and feeds bad, sugar-loving bacteria. Fiber deficiency in the modern diet is a silent tragedy. Our ancestors consumed between 100 and 150 grams of fiber per day. The average person today consumes less than 15 grams. That's less than a sixth of what we should be eating. Fiber is the exclusive food for the good bacteria in the intestine. When these bacteria eat fiber, they produce amazing substances called short-chain fatty acids, especially butyrate, which is the preferred fuel of intestinal cells. Butyrate keeps the intestinal lining strong and healthy, reduces inflammation, regulates the immune system, and even helps prevent colon cancer. Without enough fiber, you don't produce butyrate. Without butyrate, the cells in your intestine begin to starve and the intestinal barrier deteriorates. The good bacteria also begin to die, or even worse, begin to feed on the layer of mucus that protects the intestinal wall, essentially eating you from the inside out. The intestine is like a house that needs constant care to function well. Imagine that inside your belly there is an organ as important as the heart, but that most people forget to take care of. This organ is responsible for absorbing all the nutrients you eat, protecting your body from dangerous invaders, and even controlling your mood. It sounds incredible, but it's true. Now comes the shocking part. You're probably doing things every day that keep your gut from healing itself without even realizing it. These are habits that seem normal, that everyone does, but that are actually slowly destroying your intestinal health. And the worst thing is that no one told you this before. Let's start with the first terrible habit that is destroying your intestines. Eating on the run like there's no tomorrow. You wake up late, grab something from the fridge, devour it in 5 minutes while looking at your phone and run out. Sound familiar? Because that's exactly what's destroying your intestines. When you eat in a hurry, your body doesn't even realize you're eating. Digestion begins in the mouth with chewing and saliva, but you skip this step completely. The result is that large pieces of food end up in the stomach and intestines, forcing these organs to work much harder than they should. It's like trying to fit a giant suitcase through a small door. Your intestine becomes inflamed, irritated, and cannot absorb nutrients properly. Additionally, eating quickly makes you swallow a lot of air, causing gas and bloating. That bloated belly feeling after lunch? It's probably the fault of the speed at which you ate, not the food itself. But wait, there's more. The second devastating habit is drinking cold liquids during meals. You must be thinking, what do you mean? Everyone does it. This is exactly why everyone has intestinal problems. When you drink ice-cold water, soda, or iced juice while eating, you are literally freezing your digestive process. The stomach needs to be at a specific temperature to function well, and you throw a bucket of ice into it. What happens? Digestive enzymes stop working properly, food stays in the stomach for much longer and begins to ferment. This fermentation creates gases, toxins, and feeds bad bacteria in the intestine. It's like trying to melt ice with a fire out. It doesn't work. Your body spends a lot of energy trying to heat everything up again, leaving you tired and drowsy after meals. That drowsiness that hits after lunch? It could be the fault of that cold water you drank. Now let's move on to the third deadly habit that no one told you about. Using artificial sweeteners, thinking it's good for your health. You cut out sugar, think you're being super healthy, and replace everything with sweeteners. Coffee with sweetener, juice with sweetener, even food has disguised sweetener. The problem is that your intestine doesn't recognize these chemicals. For the good bacteria that live there, sweetener is pure poison. Studies show that artificial sweeteners destroy intestinal flora, killing good bacteria and allowing bad bacteria to multiply. It's like throwing herbicide in a garden and waiting for the flowers to grow. It won't happen. Plus, these sweeteners confuse your body. He tastes sweet, prepares insulin to process sugar, but the sugar never arrives. This messes up your entire metabolism and makes you even hungrier. Result, you eat more, gain more weight, and your intestine suffers more. That swollen belly that won't go away even with dieta. It could be the fault of the sweetener you use every day. The fourth terrible habit is completely ignoring the importance of sleep for gut health. You spend the night working, watching series, or using your cell phone, and you think this has nothing to do with your intestines, but it has everything to do with it. Your intestine has its own biological clock. During the night, while you sleep, it does a complete cleaning, repairs damage, regenerates cells, and organizes bacteria. When you don't sleep well, this maintenance doesn't happen. It's like having a house that is never clean. The dirt accumulates and accumulates until it becomes total chaos. Lack of sleep also increases stress hormones, which directly attack the lining of the intestine, causing inflammation and opening microscopic holes that let toxins pass into the bloodstream. This is called leaky gut, and it is one of the main causes of autoimmune diseases, allergies, and skin problems. Those pimples that appear out of nowhere, that allergy that appeared suddenly, it could be your gut screaming for help because you're not sleeping well. Let's move on to the fifth destructive habit that is slowly killing your intestines: abusing antibiotics without any real need. Any pain, any flu, you run to take antibiotics. Or worse, take antibiotics for anything the doctor prescribes without question. The problem is that antibiotics don't choose bacteria. He kills everything, the bad and the good too. It's like using a nuclear bomb to kill a mosquito. You solve a small problem, but create a huge one. Your gut has trillions of good bacteria that protect you against disease, make vitamins, control your mood, and keep your immune system strong. Every time you take antibiotics, you are massacring this protective army. What about bad bacteria? They come back stronger and more resilient. Studies show that a single course of antibiotics can alter your gut flora for up to 2 years. 2 years, and many people take antibiotics several times a year. The result is a completely unbalanced gut, full of bad bacteria and almost no good soldiers to defend you. Those infections that keep coming back, does that low immunity? It could be because you wrecked your gut with antibiotics. The sixth catastrophic habit is living stressed out 24 hours a day without doing anything to relax. You work too much, worry too much, get too anxious and think this is normal, but your intestine doesn't think it's normal. There is a direct connection between your brain and your gut, called the gut-brain axis. When you are stressed, your brain sends danger signals to your gut. The intestine responds by stopping working properly. Digestion slows, bowel movement slows, protective mucus production drops, and inflammation increases. That's why, when you get nervous, you feel that tightness in your stomach or have diarrhea before an important presentation. Chronic stress keeps your gut in a permanent state of alert, like a soldier who never rests. He becomes exhausted, sick, and stops functioning. Additionally, stress increases intestinal permeability, allowing toxins and undigested food particles to pass into the blood, causing inflammation throughout the body. That constant headache, that unexplained tiredness, that depression that doesn't go away. It could be stress destroying your gut and your gut destroying your mental health. Now let's move on to the seventh horrible habit you probably do every day: skipping breakfast or eating junk food in the morning. You wake up and don't eat anything, or you grab a coffee and white bread and run. Your intestine spent the whole night fasting, doing maintenance, and now it needs quality fuel to function. When you don't eat anything or eat junk food, You're sending your intestines to work without the right tools. It's like asking someone to build a house without bricks. Breakfast is the most important meal for the intestine because it is when you set the metabolic pattern for the entire day. If you start with sugar and refined carbs, your gut will work in emergency mode all day, causing blood sugar spikes, inflammation, and cravings for more sugar. If you skip breakfast, your body goes into stress mode, increasing cortisol and attacking your intestinal lining. Studies show that people who skip breakfast have significantly more digestive problems and a higher risk of intestinal diseases. That gastritis that doesn't go away, that reflux that bothers you, it could be because you're not feeding your gut properly in the morning. The eighth terrible habit that's ruining your gut is not eating enough fiber. You live on meat, white rice, pasta, bread and cheese, and completely forget about vegetables. Your intestine desperately needs fiber to function. The F fibers are the favorite food of good bacteria. When you don't eat fiber, these bacteria start to starve. And when they don't have anything to eat, they do something scary. They start eating the layer of mucus that protects your intestines. That's right. Your own bacteria begin to devour your internal protection. The result is an exposed intestinal wall, vulnerable to inflammation, infection, and damage. Furthermore, without fiber, bowel movement slows down. The food sits inside, fermenting, creating toxins and feeding bad bacteria. You become constipated, bloated, gassy, and in a bad mood. Studies show that most people eat less than half the amount of fiber they should eat per day. Less than half. It's like trying to drive a car with a tank full of fuel. It doesn't work. That chronic constipation, those hemorrhoids, that lazy intestine, it could be a lack of fiber that slowly destroys your digestive health. Finally, the ninth devastating habit that no one realizes is a problem. Taking antacids and heartburn medicine like candy. You feel that burning sensation in your stomach and rush to take an antacid. It seems harmless, but it's one of the worst mistakes you can make for your gut health. Stomach acid is not your enemy. It is essential. You need stomach acid to digest protein, absorb minerals like iron and calcium, and kill bad bacteria that come with your food. When you constantly take antacids, you are shutting down one of your body's main defenses. Poorly digested food passes into the intestine, causing fermentation, gas, and feeding bad bacteria. Important minerals are not absorbed, leaving you with nutritional deficiencies even if you eat well. And pathogenic bacteria that should die in the stomach pass alive into the intestine, causing infections and imbalances. Studies show that long-term use of antacids dramatically increases the risk of bacterial overgrowth in the gut, a condition called SIBO, which causes terrible bloating, diarrhea, pain, and nutrient malabsorption. Additionally, without enough acid in the stomach, the valve that separates the stomach from the esophagus doesn't close properly, making reflux worse instead of better. It's a vicious cycle. You take antacids to improve your heartburn, but it makes the problem worse in the long run. That dependence on antacids, that heartburn that never completely goes away, it could be because you are treating the symptom and making the cause worse. The truth that no one tells you is that most health problems start in the intestine. Allergies, autoimmune diseases, depression, anxiety, skin problems, weight gain, chronic fatigue, all of these conditions have a direct link to intestinal health. When your gut is sick, everything else in your body suffers. It's like having a cracked foundation in a house. No matter how beautiful the house looks on the outside, if the foundation is broken, everything will fall apart eventually. These 9 habits I just described are like hammer blows to the foundation of your health. Every time you eat on the run, drink cold water during your meal, use sweeteners, sleep poorly, abuse antibiotics, feel stressed, skip breakfast, don't eat fiber, or take antacids unnecessarily, you're taking another hit. At first you don't notice the damage. Maybe a little swelling here, a little tiredness there. But over time, the damage accumulates. Suddenly you're dealing with serious health issues, and no one can explain why. The answer is in your gut, screaming for help for years, but you weren't listening. The good news is that the intestine has an incredible ability to regenerate itself when you give it the right conditions. Each cell in the intestinal lining renews itself every 3 to 5 days. This means you can start to reverse the damage quickly when you stop doing these destructive things. Imagine your gut is like a neglected garden. It's full of weeds, the land is poor, the good plants are dying, but if you start taking care of it properly, pulling out the weeds, fertilizing the soil and planting good seeds, you'll soon have a flourishing garden again. Your gut works the same way. When you stop bombarding it with bad habits and start nurturing it properly, it responds quickly. The good bacteria start to multiply. Inflammation decreases, the intestinal lining closes, nutrients are absorbed better, and your whole body feels the difference. The problem is that we live in a society that normalizes these destructive habits. Everyone eats on the run, everyone drinks cold soda with their food, everyone uses sweeteners, everyone is stressed and sleeping poorly. It became normal to always be tired, always bloated, always have some health problem. People accept this as part of modern life, but it shouldn't be like that. The body is designed to function well, to have energy, to digest food without pain, to have a clear mind and a stable mood. When you don't have this, it's because something is wrong, and most of the time, that something is in the gut. The human body is an incredible machine that repairs itself when you stop messing with it. The question is, will you keep doing the same things and expecting different results, or will you start making real changes today? Think about how many times a day you repeat these habits. Every rushed meal, every glass of cold water, every dose of sweetener, every night of poor sleep, every stressful situation that you don't manage, every time you ignore your body asking for real food. There are dozens, maybe hundreds of small attacks on your intestine every day. Multiplied by weeks, months, years, the damage is cumulative and silent. Your gut can take it, until it can't take it anymore. And when it collapses, it takes with it your energy, your mood, your immunity, your mental health, and your quality of life. It doesn't have to be like this. Many people live with digestive symptoms for decades and never stop to question whether there is a better way. They accept constipation as normal. They accept bloating as part of life. They accept fatigue as aging. They accept allergies as genetics. But what if it's nothing like that? What if it's simply the result of years of repeating the same destructive habits that everyone around you repeats? Your body is always trying to communicate with you through symptoms. That discomfort after eating is not bad luck. It is a message. That tiredness that doesn't go away with rest isn't laziness. It's a warning. That sudden change in mood isn't personality. It's brain chemistry altered by a sick gut. When you learn to listen to your body and understand what these signals mean, you gain the power to completely change your health. The gut health revolution is happening right now in science. Researchers are discovering impressive connections between the gut and virtually every area of human health. Diseases that were once treated only with brain medicine are now being cured with gut-improving diet and lifestyle changes. This is neither pseudoscience nor fad. It's cutting-edge science showing what ancient cultures have known for millennia, that health begins with digestion. Hippocrates, considered the father of medicine, said more than 2,000 years ago that all diseases begin in the intestine. Modern science is proving him right. You have the power to change your health story starting today. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to change everything at once, but it needs to start. Choose one of these 9 bad habits and commit to changing. Maybe you start by chewing more slowly, paying attention to your food instead of eating on autopilot. Maybe you replace cold drinks with room temperature water at meals. Maybe you'll ditch the sweeteners and give your taste buds a chance to reacquaint themselves with natural flavors. Maybe you start to prioritize sleep as the survival necessity it truly is. Maybe you question each antibiotic before taking it and look for alternatives when possible. Maybe you'll find a way of managing stress that works for you. Maybe you start eating a nutritious breakfast that prepares your gut for a good day. Maybe you add more vegetables and fiber to your meals. Maybe you'll investigate the real cause of your heartburn instead of just masking the symptoms with medication. Every small change is a hammer blow repairing the foundation of your health. At first, you may not feel any difference. It may even feel temporarily worse because your body is adjusting. But if you persist, you will start to notice changes. Maybe more energy in the morning, maybe less bloating after meals, perhaps the most stable mood, maybe clearer skin, maybe less body pain, maybe clearer thoughts. These small improvements build up until one day you realize you feel completely different. And then you look back and barely recognize the person you were before. Your gut is waiting for you to give it what it needs to heal. He wants to function well. He was made for this, but it needs your help. It needs you to stop sabotaging it with destructive habits and start supporting it with conscious choices. The gut healing journey is neither quick nor easy, especially if you've spent years or decades destroying your digestive health. But it is absolutely possible and absolutely worth it. Because when your gut is healthy, everything else in your life improves. You have more energy to do what you love, more mental clarity to make good decisions, more emotional stability to deal with challenges, more resistance to fight disease, more vitality to enjoy life. It all starts in the gut, and everything can change when you take good care of it.